What's up, guys? I just had some Chipotle and the hot sauce, making my throat act up a little bit. Normally I like hot sauce. I should be fine though. So right now, what I'm working on is a Word document that categorizes and screenshots all the important information about the MULN dilution vote, and much more than that as well. So like all the tweets that David Mishry has put out, everything that happened with Hindenburg back in April, the fact that like we didn't really solidify that they were wrong. We had a couple tests done on the battery, but not what they promised us, and it still leaves a lot of questions out there. And in my opinion, all of this was to demotivate retail from buying MULN stock and prevent a squeeze. But I'm going to show you how sketch this looks as far as what happened with the dilution vote. And yeah, I mean, if you were having questions whether you should join this lawsuit, whether this is frivolous or not, I think this might answer your question. So the first time we heard about the dilution vote was on this pre-14A, June 10th. If we go here, what we're going to see is that there are 472.977 million shares of common stock that are allowed to vote. There are 13,000 preferred shares that have 1,000 times the voting power for 1.3 million votes. And then there's 6.153 million votes from the Series 3 stock, or Series C preferred stock. If we look at that, so roughly 473, 1.3, and we go to the June 24th announcement, what we're going to see is that the votes have changed, and it increased from 4,729 million common stock votes to 4,775, and we'll see the Series A preferred increased from 1.3 million to 1.925. Now, if we look at the actual results of the dilution vote, check this out. Oops. Right here on proposal number 2, which is for the dilution, so on this one right here, we see that there was 248 million votes, 248.5 million votes that were for. Now, I'm still looking for the exact law, bylaw, whatever it is that states that in order for dilution to pass, 51% of all the possible voting shares, which in this case is 480,294,481 of common stock, which is actually more than that 477 we saw on June 24th. The 1.925 million of preferred A stock and the 6.153 million votes of the Series C stock, which is in the line above that right there. And basically you add all those up and it comes out to like 488.5 million shares being able to vote. And we'll see that there's 248 million shares, 0.5 that voted for. So if we just take some simple math, and we know that from June 10th to, so there was 488 million votes possible. If we divide that by 2, obviously it's 244 million. That's how many votes they needed in order to approve the dilution. If we go off the 2 filings we just looked at from the June 10th to the June 24th, we'll see that they added 4.5 million shares in the common stock, and they added 0.6 million shares in the Series A preferred stock. And if we take that, it's about 5.2 million shares. And we know that they voted with 2.5 million yes votes. And if we subtract those newly added votes of 5.2 million, we get 243 million.3. And we know they needed 244 million to pass the vote with a yes. So if you guys look at that, what that suggests is on June 10th, when they announced all the numbers, they realized they didn't have the vote. And so on June 24th, they added in 5 million votes that they would be able to vote with. But they didn't go back and add in anyone else that has already bought shares since then. So we would have owned a lot more shares after that. Between that period of June 2nd all the way to June 24th, there was over $1 billion of MULN volume, or 1 billion shares traded of MULN volume, which means that we have somewhere between an extra 10 to 50 million shares. So, I mean, when I look at this is extremely damning. Are you trying to tell me, because like they argued in their response to my cease and desist, that everything that was generated through this vote was all done electronically through a third party? But if that's true, then how could that electronic version calculating the number of votes available on June 10th be inaccurate and update on June 24th and update just enough number of shares to where if all of those vote yes, then they get the vote? Well, they only needed like a little bit of them to vote yes, only 0.7 of the shares to vote yes. But if we subtract all of them from voting yes, so if we can find those shares and see that they all voted yes and that they were added after the June 2nd record date, then we can see that if we just subtract those 5.2 million shares they added, they no longer have enough shares to win the vote. And man, that looks damning to me. Interested to hear what you guys think about that.